Hey everyone, welcome to the online program of Amrita Civil Service Academy. My name is Sibi Joy, and as part of our Mains Master 2020 program, in this video, we'll be discussing question on social justice. So the first question goes like this. Though our policymakers have tried to improve the condition of scheduled castes in our country, the objective of bringing scheduled caste on par with the general population is still far from being achieved. Discuss the effectiveness of Prime Minister or Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana in this regard. So it's a 10-mark question. The question is for 150 words. So understand it's a 10-mark question. So we'll generally have two sides of the paper to write. So we'll be working upon that. Assume that you have two sides of the paper to write, and from that, in this video, we'll be discussing what is the structure to be followed and what you are supposed to write in this answer to make sure it is complete and it's a closed answer. So while beginning with this, one thing I found is we must understand what is the demand of the question. So the demand of the question is not Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana at all. The demand of the question is how Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana is working towards whether this has brought about a change in the scheduled caste population, what is the effectiveness of the program. So you can just give a general information about the program, but rather more what you have to say is you have to show how this has been effective in addressing the population, especially the scheduled caste population. That is the core demand of the question. If you read the question again, you'll understand that the effectiveness of Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana is the one which is being demanded. So we've understood the demand of the question. From this, what do? We go into the introduction part, we go into the body part, we go into the conclusion part. Understand that this is the common structure we will follow. We will be writing this. So going to the introduction, I've just broken it into the first part and the second part. Understand that this is not two paragraphs or two lines. This is just a single paragraph, but we'll be ensuring that single paragraph has the gist of the answer inside it. So what do I mean by the first part? In that, I would like to say that in this question, it talks about improving the condition of the scheduled caste. The government has tried so many, but it is still far from being achieved. So you can say that in this, the statement itself says the scheduled caste have not reached at par with the general population. So the first part you can say with some either statistic or data, you can bring about something to say that why they are not yet, how they are not yet at par with the general population. In the data, one common thing I'd like to use is literacy. You can use the literacy data, or you can use the employment data, poverty data. Feel free to choose any data to show that how they are not yet in a position which is at par with the general population of the country. You can use that in the first part to show how they are not equally, they do not have equal access to opportunities or to benefits. Once that is done, you can show in the second part, you can link it with Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. You can say how Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana, is making a difference, or what is its objective. The objective is to ensure that it brings up model villages in places where the village population has more than 50% of the population is scheduled caste. These villages will be modeled as Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana, and the funds and everything will be channelized to make sure they grow up as model villages. So that is the idea. If you can just link it with the first part and the second part, you can say that the present situation of the scheduled caste is like this, and Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana, which focus on villages which have more than 50% of population as SC, the focus is upon that to improve their entire lot. That is the idea. If you can bring that in your introduction, that would be the perfect introduction, and we can go with this. So that is there for the introduction part. We are going for the body. So let me just explain the body first. In the body, again, we have to just say in the first part of the equation, in the first part of the question, it says the scheduled caste in a country, despite all these things, we are far from achieving the objective of their growth. So presently, we need to say what is their present situation, what are the problems they are facing. Only if we can say that, can we ensure that our answer is complete. So take the time to just bring about their present situation. Again, use statistics or data to show why they are not at par with the general population. So don't use the data which you already mentioned in your introduction. Use something else. So I have some data here with me. You can say that 33% of all women from scheduled caste experience physical violence after the age of 15. So that is a very horrifying fact. You can quote that. And this was taken from the National Family Health Survey. And apart from that, you can say that caste still remains a very big social barrier for many people, especially in rural areas. Then they are the ones who are mainly involved in practices such as manual scavenging or all these jobs. There is a kind of occupational enforcement upon them to be allotted these kinds of jobs. So you can say that manual scavenging, untouchability, that kind of social discrimination still do exist in many areas. Then nationally, there is no significant Dalit business group apart from Dalit chambers of commerce, and even then, its working is pretty skewed. So you can say that there is not much of a consolidation among their activities. So you have ample data. I would like to just suggest the first data which I said was from National Family Health Survey. You can use that, or you can use some other data like the poverty data. Use that to show how they are, what is their present status, what is the percentage of the population which is suffering. And once that is shown, go for the Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. Because now we need to say, what is the Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana? Just say it out. Just say what we are aiming to, what this scheme is all about. So we'll be going in the scheme. It's a centrally sponsored scheme. It's a centrally sponsored scheme which is implemented in majority villages having population of 50% plus population of scheduled caste. Well, in that the main objective is there is no specific allotment, but rather it is convergence of all the common schemes inside this one model. So it's primarily through convergent implementation of the relevant central and state schemes. So that is the main idea. And apart from this, central assistance in the form of gap filling funds, it's a viability gap funding. In case certain funds are not sufficient for a specific village, the center will provide a gap filling fund of 20 lakh rupees. So you can say that this is a convergent scheme. Viability gap funding is provided for them, 20 lakhs per village. You can say that is also given, and it will be increased to another 5 lakh if states also give a matching contribution. That is, even if the states give 5 more lakhs, the center will also be willing to give 5 more lakhs. Once that is done, by providing gap filling component to take up activities which do not get covered under the existing central government, state government schemes are to be taken up. So what happens is, we talked about gap filling. So this gap filling is meant for those activities which do not get covered under the existing schemes. For example, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana talks about providing housing for all. So in case there is a deficit on something other than housing, and which is not covered under any of the existing schemes, we can use the viability gap funding or the gap funding fees fund available to do that objective. So its purpose is to balance out the areas where there is not enough schemes or there is not enough allotment for that. So that is the idea behind it. So you can say this is the idea of Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. Then we come to the core part of the question. We need to talk about its effectiveness. Is Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana effective? Because the question is like that. If you look at the question, discuss the effectiveness of Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana in this regard. So this is the core body of the question. You gave the intro, you gave the present situation with a statistic, and you talked about what is Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. Now you are coming to its effectiveness part. Like, is it really effective? Is this stuff happening? So when you come to that, you can do like you need to put in some data about Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. You need to understand the scheme. You need to put up some data with regards to it. Not only data, but you need to say how effective it has been in overcoming the general difficulties the scheduled caste population face in India. So while talking about the performance, I have some data here with me. You can look at your answer key. Definitely it has the data available which I am sharing with you. 51% of the projects have been completed. So one thing you can quote in this is 51% of the projects have been completed. And apart from that, there is mandatory physical exercise, there is convergence of schemes. convergence of MP, local area development scheme, and other schemes, state schemes. That is also another thing. These are the positive things. But there are certain situations where it is also weak. You can say that 36% is not initiated yet. 36% of the programs are not yet initiated. You can also talk about how the worst performers like Bihar, Rajasthan, and Maharashtra have just started projects of 20% or 30%, and nearly 70% is still incomplete. So all of these are data you can bring in. But apart from the data, what else can you show to say that effectiveness of Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana is successful or not? You can definitely say that even though this has been brought in, you can say that there is still the social exclusion, there is still political exclusion, there is still economic exploitation, the jobs are not available for them. Ignore the government sector, even in private sector, many jobs are not available for them because of their lack of basic access to facilities like education and healthcare. You can say all of this and you can bring this all together. But understand the core idea is you have to effectively demonstrate that you know what is Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana, and you need to say how it has been effective. So you can please do say the positives, please do say the negatives. You can positives, you can say that nearly 51% of the schemes have been implemented, completed. There's a convergence of all the schemes under one umbrella scheme. But as part of your negative, you can say that 36% of the remaining schemes is not even initiated. The rest are just incomplete. And worst performing states like Bihar, Rajasthan, and Maharashtra have a large percentage of population who belong to the scheduled caste category. So they are also struggling. So what is the idea? How can we improve them? That is what we'll be discussing in the remedies. So before that, this is what you'll be talking in the effectiveness of Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. Then we are coming to the remedies part. So in the remedies, what do we say? You can say that there needs to be the usage of information and communication technology to check its progress. Many MPs have not yet chosen their own Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram. They haven't chosen the Adarsh Gram. So we need to make sure that our parliamentarians are accountable. We need to increase the accountability so that every village is chosen. Deadlines for implementation. We need to set deadlines within which this project must be implemented, and so that the money is properly used. Instead of output, we need to look at outcomes. We need to look at outcomes, whether this has brought about a change for the people who are involved in this project, whether there is really development for the villages who are involved in the scheme. So we need to look at outcomes, not outputs. We can build schools, we can build hospitals, we can build playgrounds. But if nobody is playing the playground, if nobody is going to school, if nobody is utilizing the hospital, then it is all utterly worthless. So we need to look at a outcome-based approach. Once you look at that, these are the ways you can improve the Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. You can say that as a remedial measure. And once all of this is said and done, you can go for your conclusion. So in your conclusion, if you have some model of village which has brought about a change, you can say that village. You can say you can apply this model. One model I like to say is the village of Ralegaon Siddhi under the aegis of Anna Hazare. It's in Maharashtra. It does not come under the scheme. I don't believe it comes under the scheme, but Anna Hazare was instrumental in implementing the growth and the proper schemes and welfare inside this village, and it became one of the model villages of India. So you can go, if this is just an example I am saying, you can look at, there are so many model villages in India which have succeeded in implementing these schemes properly. So if you can look at it, you can find certain villages, you can say that like a model which has been successfully replicated in Ralegaon Siddhi, if it is applied all across India, we can bring about a huge change. So that should be the idea behind each and every concept. So if you have some case studies, please say it out in the conclusion, and then we can say if this model is replicated all across India, we can lead to an India where the villages are self-sufficient, where the villages themselves act as centers of excellence, and it can lead to an India where there is no difference of caste difference, and it can lead to an egalitarian society. Something like that, where it ends on a positive note, and which brings about a link with the introduction, where we can talk about egalitarianism, we can talk about bringing all the population together, we can talk about ensuring that the suppressed classes are equally treated with the general population. all of this can be brought about. If possible, bring a case study of an example and link it with the positive side. Your conclusion should be set. So before concluding this video, let me just go with the beginning. In the introduction, first we need to establish that the scheduled caste population are not at par with the general population. You can use some data. I said you can look at the literacy, you can look at the employment data, you can look at the poverty data, find something, mention which report it is inside a paragraph, and it should be good. Once that is done, you can go for the second part where you can talk about what the scheme is, Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. Just it's a, and how the scheme is making a difference. Just say that it is helping the scheduled caste population in achieving the developmental goals, and you can say something with related to that. Just a one line definition, working definition, and your introduction should be golden. Then you go for the body. Once you go for the body, first you describe what is the present situation of the Dalits, you can, of the scheduled caste. You can talk about the various data from the National Family Health Survey, the poverty data. You can mention that all to show how they are suffering. And once that is done, you can talk about what is Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana. You can talk about how it is a convergence scheme and how there is a viability gap funding of rupees 20 lakhs in case of for specific areas which is not covered under the central and the state schemes. Once that is done, you can go for the effectiveness of the scheme. You can talk about how it is 51% of the projects are completed, how there is a convergence of the MP lads and other state schemes, but at the same time there are problems like with 36% of the schemes not even begun, and worst performers like Rajasthan, Bihar and Maharashtra, which have a large scheduled caste population, yet they are one of the poorest performers under this scheme. And we can say how that many MPs themselves have not chosen their Adarsh Gram, and this has also delayed the implementation. So what are the remedies? We can talk about usage of information communication technology to get a real-time data on the developments which are happening in that villages. We can talk about making the MPs accountable to ensure that their villages are properly developed. We can set for deadlines for this project to ensure that it is done within a fixed amount of time. And we can also talk about outcome measures where instead of output, instead of buildings, we look at whether there is an outcome, whether there is a different change in the way the people live, whether there is an improvement in the lifestyle of the scheduled caste population when this scheme is implemented. Once you can look at the outcomes, your answer should be perfect. Once that is done, go for your conclusion. You can go with a case study. I told you about Ralegaon Siddhi. If you can find some other village, most happy, just mention how this has brought about a change. And if this is the model village, if it is replicated all across India, we can bring about a holistic change in the country, leading to egalitarianism and a vision of India, which is where the urban people and the rural people and the scheduled caste and the non-scheduled caste, they all live together equally as equals in the society. Something like that would be the perfect conclusion. So I hope each and every one of you got the idea of what is to be written in this question. And that is all for this video. This is CB Joy signing off. Thank you.